It's now 6 o'clock right here on Big Breakfast. Today FM, today's hit music.
Hey, I'm Pauline.
And I'm Alan. Tune in to the Breakfast Show on Today FM with Pauline and I every weekday morning
From 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
right here on Today FM, today's hit music.
Today FM, today's hit music.
Good evening, this is FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. In this bulletin, Prime Minister Varange Bainimarama appointed chairman of the 71st session of UNESCO in Bangkok, Thailand. Fiji Sugar Corporation records profits for the past 3 years. And 7-member Fiji delegation to head to ILO Switzerland meeting this week. Prime Minister Varange Bainimarama has this afternoon been appointed the chairman of the 71st session of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or UNESCO. Acting chair of the 70th UNESCO session, Bhutan's Prime Minister handed over the chairmanship to Bainimarama after a 1-year term. This is the second time Fiji has assumed the chairmanship of the UNESCO. The first one was 25 years ago. Meanwhile, while he was addressing the session yesterday, the Prime Minister said Fiji is at the forefront of trying to get the global community to take climate change issues seriously. Akusita Tale has more.
Bainimarama says this will be a cornerstone of both the 5-year and 20-year national plans that are currently being developed to take the country forward. Bainimarama shared Fiji's experience on the formulation of its green growth framework to build a more sustainable economic model. Bainimarama added that Fiji will also be leading the charge at the World Climate Summit in Paris in 6 months' time. Akusita Tale, FBC News.
Now, the Fiji Sugar Corporation has released its financial reports for the first time in 3 years, revealing net profits. The company, which suffered huge losses from 2009 to 2011, bounced in 2012 and 2014. The reports were tabled at the FSC Annual General Meeting in Lautoka yesterday afternoon. Christopher Chand reports.
Fiji's sugar industry has been recovering after sustaining massive losses. This was the first AGM since 2012, and the financials show a steady turnaround over the last 3 years.
Since 2012 onwards, our profit has gone from 1.8 million to the present profit of 6.9 million.
FSC was facing a bleak future with huge losses accumulating to over $175 million in 2010, but it has shown improvements. After 4 years of consecutive losses, the FSC made a slight profit in 2012. Its profits grew in the last 2 years as well, with a net profit of $6.9 million last year.
We are glad that FSC is on a path to recovery. As we have noticed from the annual accounts, the operating profit seems to be improving, although the exposure of FSC continues to grow.
While the company has made significant progress in its financial performance, there are still many challenges to overcome.
It will actually be the price of sugar on the world market. As you know, the price is quite depressed at the moment. So that'll be the real challenge for us, is to try and improve on our revenue stream, and hence the reason why we're looking for other markets. If we look at our operational side, we've got to make sure that we keep our operational cost as low as possible so that we can still retain that margin.
The subject of the government taking over full ownership of the company was not discussed at the meeting. The government holds 68% of FSC's shares. The rest are owned by local companies and individuals. The Fiji Sugar Corporation says their main priority at this moment is to maintain their healthy financials. Christopher Chand, FBC News.
3 new board members were also appointed. They are Arvind Singh, Joseph Roden and Tevita Kuruvakandua, while Alipatengetaki and Dijendra Singh have retired from their positions. Minister for Employment Chiyochi Konrote says the government's report to the ILO meeting in Geneva is consultative, as specified in the tripartite agreement. Konrote will lead the delegation, which will aim to convince the ILO governing body that Fiji is ahead of schedule in the review of its labour laws in compliance with international standards. Maggie Boyle tells us more.
A 7-member Fijian delegation will leave the country this week for Switzerland. The key agenda is Fiji's progress since the March signing of a tripartite agreement between the Fiji Trade Union Congress, the Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation and the government. According to the Minister for Employment and head of the delegation, Chiyochi Konrote, Fiji is well on track to meeting ILO compliance.
And I'm scheduled to address the forum on the 10th of next month. During that meeting, I will be making a presentation to the ILO about the conditions in Fiji in terms of reforms that we had promised the body that it's going to be undertaken, and that is going to be a follow-up from the tripartite agreement we signed in March.
Last week, Parliament passed a motion to amend the Employment Relations Promulgation, which is currently before the Standing Committee with a report to be finalised in the July sitting. Issues that the FTUC has lobbied for is the freedom of association and the effective recognition of collective bargaining, which Konrote says will be part and parcel of reviewed labour laws. CEO for the FCEF, Nesbitt Hazelman, says that since the establishment of the Employment Relations Advisory Board, ERAB, there has been a series of meetings to discuss the way forward. And while the joint report in Geneva will be a significant step for industrial relations in the country, he admits they are contentious issues that will need further consultation.
If an organisation takes out a 28 days notice of strike, the employer can file a dispute. Once you file a dispute, the strike becomes illegal. You are forced into tribunal to sort it out and mediate. So we'd like to see it the same way because it's worked in the past.
The ILO conference of the governing body will be held from this Sunday until the 14th of June in Geneva. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
The Fiji Airways A330 aircraft, or island of Namuka-Elau, that was damaged in an incident at Nadi Airport 2 weeks ago, will be back in the country soon. In a statement this afternoon, the national airline says the aircraft is expected to return to service on Monday, June 1st, after repairs are completed in Brisbane. An ATS loader had backed into the cargo section of the aircraft, causing substantial damage. The A330 is expected to operate a Sydney to Nadi service on Monday, and the airline anticipates a return to normal scheduling on Tuesday. In the meantime, some Fiji Airways flights will continue to be affected. 2 Fiji Airways flights between Sydney and Nadi this Saturday will be operated by chartered aircraft as the airline attempts to minimize disruptions. Well, still to come on FBC News, Fiji Police Force contemplating increase in manpower.
Ya vino pale mwanzo kwa chuma ni mwanzo kwa na bula FM na bundu wene sere na hona ni ndende manda ke Central Rental Support ke na rusho na vitu minichi me ba na koloko. Ni sabula.
Oya wa tisoni dalai.
Gonga e mozindonu.
Nama kikirau bena tolu kene bitu. Ena via kabi moliti kene porombuka.
Goria na lali ne kabi. Bula FM na bundu ena sere.
Welcome to FBC News. Police are looking for the driver of the vehicle that was involved in an accident in Olasara, Singatoka this afternoon. It is alleged the driver fled the scene after the accident. It is also alleged the vehicle was heading towards Singatoka town when the driver lost control, causing it to veer off the road. Meanwhile, a woman who was a passenger in the car is now admitted at the Lautoka hospital due to serious injuries. The other 3 victims remain admitted at the Singatoka hospital. Now, FICAC has filed an application to amend the particulars of the charge against opposition parliamentarian Ratu Isoa Tikotha, who appeared in court this morning, accompanied by friends and opposition MPs. He is charged with 1 count of failing to declare liabilities under the political party's decree. FICAC lawyer Laite Mbokini made the application to change the wording Permanent Secretary of Elections in the charge to Supervisor of Elections. Tikotha is expected to make a plea on the 22nd of June. The Fiji police force is looking into the possibility of recruiting more officers to cater for the country's population. Ritika Pratap reports the ratio of police to the public in Fiji is lower than the global average.
Police Chief Major General Ben Huneval says the Fiji police force should be expanded.
As indicated, if we take an international benchmark where you would like to have one policeman for every 400 members of the public, at this stage we are working one policeman for every 700 members of the public. We need additional police personnel.
Huneval says the lack of police officers is a concern and raised it with their minister. A research is currently being carried out to determine the exact ratio of police to the people.
The review that we are busy with in expanding our police stations, we will need additional manpower also in that case, and hopefully once we finished with our research, we will submit the total needs to the minister.
The police commissioner, however, says it is not easy to expand the manpower as they need the right people to meet the expectations.
But keep in mind, it is not easy. You cannot just get people. You need to have the resources, you need to have the budget, you need to have them trained. So you cannot just take people from somewhere and put them in a uniform. That's not how the police work.
Huneval is in the Western Division this week, holding Talanoa sessions with the public with the aim of improving their services. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The Pacific Island Forum is now taking submissions for a new framework for Pacific regionalism. This is the first time the PIF is taking public views designed to ensure greater inclusivity among member countries. Edwin Nunn reports.
The framework is designed to promote regionalism and unity amongst member countries.
The framework places an emphasis on creating the time and space for leaders to have open and robust discussions about regionalism, about what the regional agenda should be, about what forms of regionalism are appropriate, and about the pace at which regionalism should occur.
Newly appointed Secretary General Dame Meg Taylor spoke extensively about regional priorities and how the Pacific needs to take ownership of its destiny at a diplomacy roundtable. The forum itself is likely to become more lean and responsive to the needs of the region.
We will also shortly carry out a review of all meetings that require the attendance of officials, ministers and leaders to ensure that these meetings are relevant and effective and worth the time taken by participants to actually attend, and that there is policy cohesion between meetings and the work of regional organisations.
There are no restrictions on the submissions for the framework and may focus on health, education, security, gender issues, resource management and climate change. Submissions are also open for fisheries, infrastructure, connectivity, trade and economic integration, political dialogue and many other issues.
The process for determining the region's priorities under the framework calls for any and all members of the Pacific Island Forum community to submit ideas and concepts around key issues for the region. This marks a fundamental shift away from previous practice, whereby priorities were largely determined by officials or regional agencies with very little consultation of the broader public.
All submitted initiatives will be assessed by a specialist subcommittee on regionalism, including Australia and New Zealand. At least 5 initiatives will then be put to the Pacific Island Leaders Forum meeting in Port Moresby in September this year. Edwin Nund, FBC News.
A 3-day blood drive is being held in Kinoya Nasinu to help 26 children and 4 adults who will undergo heart surgery at the CWM hospital on Sunday. This is to ensure there is an ample supply of blood for the surgery at CWM. Pernix Fiji Limited, the company building the new Kinoya power station, is heading the blood drive.
And each family is going to receive $250, which is going to assist them with the transportations. A lot of them are coming from very far away remote villages, and they will be requiring some transportation to come here. Some of it is also going to be given to the parents in terms of just financial remittances.
An Australian mobile cardiac team of doctors and nurses will be in the country next week to perform the heart operations. And we turn to sports now. Here's Jamie.
Thank you, Amrita, and good evening in sports after the break. Good news for local football fans ahead of the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, and Fiji Warriors defeat Argentina Panthers on its South American tour. This and more coming up.
छू 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 हे हे नमस्ते फीजी, आपके हर एक प्रॉब्लम की दवा लेकर मैं आ गई हूँ 9 से 12 बजे तक आपकी सहेली रेनू। छू 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 40 में 20 का दिखना है। मैं हूँ ना आपके साथ में मिर्ची एफएम पर 9 से 12 बजे तक मंडे टू फ्राइडे। मिर्ची इट्स हॉट।
Meanwhile, the Vodafone Fiji football side arrived in Christchurch today to prepare for the FIFA Under-20 World Cup on Saturday. Amongst the group of young men raring to go is Shoaib Khan. The talented athlete who plays in New Zealand attributes his football success to his father. Indra Singh files this report from Christchurch.
Joining you on Sunday, Christchurch. An emotional Fijian team defender, Shoaib Khan, says he is nothing without his father's support, and without his dad, he wouldn't even be playing in this World Cup.
He's been my hero since I was born, He's been there with me since I first started kicking a ball around, I mean, he's like a major part of my life and my soccer career, He's been taking me with his guidance. He's just been pushing me forward and, telling me to do the right things, I guess. He's just a major part of my life, and I can't do it without him.
His dad, Sabir Khan, a long-time football enthusiast, says his son has really made the family proud.
I've got calls coming out from all over the world because we are from a soccer background family, as Johnny Bakri family, and I've been getting a lot of calls out from my cousins, my mates, saying that, wish the boys all the best.
In fact, the senior Khan says the entire 21 players in the team are dear to him.
The qualifying matches, I've been together with the team from the first day, and the respect they have shown during the qualifying matches, and they've been calling me, they've been texting me every day.
Shoaib, who plays for Waitakere United in New Zealand, says nothing is stopping Fiji from making a name in this World Cup.
And we're pretty down to earth about it, that we are going to give Germany a good go, and it doesn't matter where we all get injured or whatever, but we know that we're going to give 100% and more.
It has been one of the many success stories within this team, and to date, as all players have had their families back them tremendously. Now, as the countdown continues to the start of Fiji's campaign, Sabir will sure be in the stands to support not only his flesh and blood, but the entire team who he calls his sons. Indra Singh, FBC Sports.
And still with the side, its goalkeeping coach Yosefo Vosamboto says his stoppers are ready to take on the best. The former Ba and Fiji goalie has been working hard with the 3 goalkeepers in the side. He says the youngsters have a bright future and the World Cup is a great platform for them to showcase their skills.
For my goalkeepers, I've been motivating them, encouragement, how to go about to face all these consequences or circumstances that comes in. Battle in the field and against the top level. Building confidence in themselves, that's the most very important thing, and I always cheer them up.
Meanwhile, the team was given a traditional Maori welcome when they arrived at the Christchurch airport today. The players also got their first experience of the weather conditions they might face during their first match. Fiji plays Germany in its opening pool match at 1 p.m. on Monday, and as mentioned earlier, you can watch that match live on FBCTV. The Telecom Fiji Warriors defeated the Argentina Panthers 23-21 today in the second match of their South American tour. The Warriors led 18-7 at halftime, courtesy of tries to John Stewart and Savanada Tambakanalangi with 2 penalties from Tikilavi Vuimbau. The Panthers mounted a comeback in the second spell, but Fiji replied with a try to winger Nadhani Wakaya to win the match. The Warriors will take on Uruguay in their final tour match next week. William Ngandolo has shrugged aside questions about the security of his post as head coach of the Vodafone Fiji Under-20 rugby side following a dismal performance at the Junior Championships in Portugal. The baby flying Fijians finished in 5th place at the Tier 2 Junior World Rugby Championship. However, Ngandolo has expressed his interest to continue in the role next year. Josephine Avula reports.
Nandolo is coaching the national age group side for the second year, and despite of the team's poor outing, he still wants to continue. Nandolo admits the team's performance was disappointing after they suffered losses to Georgia and Uruguay in the pool play. The side's coaching staff was also made up of former Flying Fijians Captain Kelele Were and Mosese Rauluni. He declined to comment when asked if the team's performance was a wake-up call about the state of the development of rugby in the country. The team arrived today from the World Rugby Under-20 Championships, where they are now ranked 5th after defeating Namibia 36 points to 24 at the playoffs in the second division. Josephine Vula, FBC Sports.
The national powerlifting side is confident of their chances at the Pacific Games in Papua New Guinea. The 4-member squad today received new training outfits and water bottles from Daytech Fiji. Going up against the best lifters in the region, Coach Ilyas Sairava believes the athletes will all achieve a podium finish.
I'm taking only 4 lifters. We got a qualification through Oceania level. So any person that qualifies to go to the games is in the medal contention. So I can mention to you either gold, silver or bronze, but sure enough, you are already looking at 4 medals.
The Pacific Games will be held in Port Moresby from July 4th to the 18th. The Fiji Pearls are upping the tempo in its preparations for the Pacific Games and getting in as much game time as possible. Currently, the squad has been released from camp to represent their various clubs at the Lautoka Netball Association knockout competition. Coach Kate Carpenter says the playoffs will be a good build-up for the players prior to the Pacific Games in July.
We're looking forward to finding out the draws, and then we can really sit down and plan out our program, and similarly for the World Cup. So we've got 2 different groups working together. We're still all training together so that we can give everyone a good opportunity to prepare for the Pacific Games.
The Lautoka Netball Association knockout competition will be played this Saturday. And that's it from Sports Tonight. It's back to Amrita now with business.
Fiji Sugar Corporation's Executive Chairman Abdul Khan's term has been extended for another 4 years. Khan, who was appointed as chairman towards the end of 2010, took over as executive chairman in 2011 on a 4-year term. His contract was extended late last year for another term until 2018. Khan has been spearheading the company's turnaround, helping FSC recover from its losses to profitability in recent years.
Mr. Abdul Khan is the executive chair, and his contract as executive chair was renewed last year. Normally the contract is for a term of 4 years, and that is what applies to him.
And government and shareholders have showed their confidence in his leadership. It was generally cool and cloudy in the east today, with scattered showers, while the west experienced sunny, cool conditions. Suva and Savu were the coolest with an afternoon high of 26, while Mombasa was the warmest, hitting 32. We can expect another cool night with temperatures in some areas dropping as low as 19 degrees. As for tomorrow, it'll be much like today, with cloudy periods and scattered showers over the Lau Group and eastern parts of the larger islands. In the west, another fine day. And you can expect the same general trends in the weather for Friday and leading into the weekend. On to our main points again. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama appointed chairman of the 71st session of UNESCAP in Bangkok, Thailand. Fiji Sugar Corporation records profits for the past 3 years. And 7-member Fiji delegation to head to ILO Switzerland meeting this week. On to our poll question of the week: should there be stricter requirements for getting a driver license? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC News or hashtag FBC News. You've been watching FBC News. I'm Amrita Priyadarshini. Good night.
Saru anduru na kaloko na Radio Fiji 1 andomo ibiki na buongani binyano. Nisambula binaka nangono boro taki ni rongo sere nangono nindreko malolo. Nisambula binaka. Oye wa meli kilangi. Ningi nama kati umena nongo bengi rawi maina moni tiki na warombuka na rua kina wana kaloko nangono ni rongo mani besana. Waki na wano nangono ni rongo sere na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiki na buongani binyano.